Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing Ready or Not and the non-lethals and equipment being brought to the game. Going into any hostile situation guns blazing is not the most effective way to protect and serve. Your mission in Ready or Not is to protect the public from dangerous criminals and terrorists. Therefore, the implementation of less lethal weapons and gadgets is highly suggested, if not required, for success. Today I'll go through every confirmed less lethal device as well as the gear that is confirmed for use in Ready or Not. So before we hop into the video, I just wanted you guys to know that all of the research done in this video is pretty much pulled from the Wikipedia articles on each of the weapons here, so I just wanted to let you know that ahead of time. So just take things with a little bit of a grain of salt, but this is just some very basic research I've looked into here. Non-lethal weapons, also called less lethal weapons, less than lethal weapons, non-deadly weapons, compliance weapons, or pain-inducing weapons, are weapons intended to be less likely to kill a living target than conventional weapons such as knives and firearms. It's often understood that the unintended or incidental casualties are risked whenever force is applied, but non-lethal weapons try to minimize the risk as much as possible. Non-lethal weapons are used in policing and combat situations to limit the escalation of conflict where employment of lethal force is prohibited or undesirable, where the rules of engagement require minimal casualties, or where policy restricts the use of conventional force. So now I'm going to go ahead and go through a whole list of the different non-lethal or less lethal weapons that are being brought to the game. Alright, so first we're going to start off with Flashbang Grenades. A stun grenade, also known as a flash grenade, a flashbang, thunder flash, or sound bomb, is a non-lethal explosive device used to temporarily disorient an enemy's senses. It's designed to produce a blinding flash of light around 7 million candela and an intensely loud bang of greater than 170 decibels. We also have Stinger grenades in Ready or Not. The Stinger CS rubber ball grenade is a maximum effective device that delivers 4 stimuli for psychological and physiological effects: rubber pellets, light, sound, and CS. The Stinger grenade is most widely used as a crowd management tool by law enforcement and corrections. The Stinger grenade has an essential 1.5 second delay that initiates the fuse assembly separation, followed by another 0.5 second delay before the blast, which is sufficient to project the rubber balls and chemical agent in a 50-foot radius. It may be deployed for ground burst or aerial burst at the discretion of the operator. It's generally reserved as a last selection when chemical agents and less lethal impact munitions have not solved the disorder or routed the crowd. And of course, speaking of CS gas grenades are going to be coming to the game as well. CS is one of the most commonly used tear gases in the world. CS and CN are effective because when released they are dispersed as a microscopic powder. This acts as a powdered barb. This powder attaches to moist mucous membranes and skin, where it becomes a liquid and a potent sensory irritant. But what about the longer range, less lethal weapons? Let's go ahead and look at some of those. So we have beanbag shotgun rounds in Ready or Not. A beanbag round, also known by its trademark name flexible baton round, is a baton round fired as a shotgun shell used for less lethal apprehension of suspects. The beanbag round consists of a small fabric pillow filled with lead shot weighing about 40 grams. It's fired from a normal 12-gauge shotgun, and when fired, the bag is expelled at around 70 to 90 meters per second, or 230 to 300 feet per second. It spreads out in flight and distributes its impact over 6 square centimeters of the target. It's designed to deliver a blow that will cause minimal long-term trauma and no penetration, but will result in a muscle spasm or other reaction to briefly render a violent suspect immobile. Shotguns dedicated to being used for beanbag rounds are often visibly modified with either a yellow or green marking or a bright orange stock and stops. And speaking of an orange stock and stops for a less lethal shotgun, we've actually got a picture from Void Interactive's Instagram that shows just such a shotgun, so that's very interesting. We've also got pepper spray coming to the game. Pepper spray is a chemical compound that irritates the eyes to cause tears, pain, and temporary blindness. It's used in policing, riot control, crowd control, and self-defense, including defense against dogs and bears. Its inflammatory effects cause the eyes to close, taking away vision. This temporary blindness allows officers to more easily restrain suspects and permits people in danger to use pepper spray in self-defense for an opportunity to escape. Although considered a less than lethal agent, it has been deadly in some rare cases, and concerns have been raised about a number of deaths where pepper spray may have been a contributing factor. We also have pepper guns coming to the game. Not too dissimilar from the pepper guns in SWAT 4, they are paintball guns essentially that can shoot pellets containing the pepper spray, and they have a much longer effective range. And there's also tasers coming to the game. Tasers were introduced as non-lethal weapons for police to use to subdue fleeing, belligerent, or potentially dangerous people who would have otherwise been subjected to more lethal weapons such as a firearm. It fires two small dart-like electrodes which stay connected to the main unit by conductors to deliver electric current to disrupt voluntary control of muscles, causing neuromuscular incapacitation. Someone struck by a taser may experience pain and overstimulation of sensory nerves or motor nerves, resulting in strong involuntary long muscle contractions. The force applied is therefore proportional to the strength of the person receiving the shock rather than the strength of the police officer. Taser darts can incapacitate, not just cause pain compliance, and thus are preferred by some law enforcement over non-taser stun guns and other electronic control weapons. Now, Void, the developers of Ready or Not, are currently considering adjusting how the taser affects targets based on whether the subject is overweight or on drugs. Nonetheless, the taser's overall effectiveness won't be affected because that would probably cause players to choose items other than that more often. It's also worth saying that the taser will be largely ineffective on a particular mission against a particular set of targets, so players will be made aware of that before starting the mission. Alright, so let's move on to some of the other gear in Ready or Not. So of course we have the body armor returning to the game. Opti-wands are also returning, which are useful for clearing out rooms or seeing which rooms are clear in the first place. You can also use the Opti-wands to peek around corners. Essentially, it's a way to check out areas to see if they're safe before proceeding forward and putting officers in danger. Of course, door wedges are wedges that you put under a door to then make it unable to be entered through, so it can kind of be useful as a way to clear behind you or to make sure nobody sneaks up on you. It can also be useful for putting there before a room breach just to make sure you can have enough time to decide which kind of room breach you want to do. The multi-tools are coming to the game, and I believe when they say multi-tools, they're referring to the ability to be able to pick locks with a tool. There's also night vision equipment coming to the game, and there are also going to be flashlights, which I don't know if they're going to be weapon-attached flashlights or what kind that we're going to have. I would assume that they are, but you never know. And of course, returning from SWAT as well are chem lights. Chem lights are useful to put into rooms that have already been cleared out by your officers, and are great for when going back through a building to know where you've already been. And there's also several items that are only going to be spawned by the tactical analysis or planning phase that include ballistic shields, heavy rams, and the telescopic ladder. A ballistic shield is pretty self-explanatory. It's a shield that provides you cover from ballistics. It can also be useful against things like stinger grenades that could accidentally come back towards you. Of course, operators who use this ballistic shield are going to be much slower, but they can drop it at any time. Generally, the shield bearer is both a role that players may want or may not want to be, and they'll definitely feel the weight of using it. It can be a bit terrifying and loud when a bullet hits it, as it should be, and that's just kind of the risk that you get into using these things. Heavy rams are coming to the game, and I believe these are just another way to breach into a room. Of course, it's like a battering hammer that you use to hit doors down, and I'm sure there's many videos out there of, watching people hit their rams into things. And we also have the telescopic ladders, which are very tiny ladders that are very compact and can be easily carried around, but then they can be expanded into very large ladders, thus allowing you access to higher places. Now, how these are going to be implemented into the game mechanics, I really don't know. Are you going to be able to use it like a piece of equipment? Are they going to be pre-placed and planned out to use in certain areas? I really don't know. And there are a few more notes I wanted to go ahead and hit before I close out this video. Shotguns have the option of slug, buckshot, beanbag, and breaching rounds depending on the shotgun and its supported ammo types. Rifles and pistols also have FMJ and HP options. Caliber and ammunition choices are consequential. For example, both will affect armor penetration. Snipers will be a selectable tactical option during the planning phase for co-op and single player. Snipers will not be AI, and the players will be able to control them, so not too dissimilar to SWAT 4. The SWAT will certainly not carry batons or nightsticks, nor will they be able to punch. Suspects don't currently use any melee weapons either, although that is subject to change. And players will be allowed to use squad points to purchase a rearm and possibly allow more magazines as time goes on. Alright guys, and that is currently all of the news I have to deliver on the game. Like I said, all of the research in this video was mainly just provided through Wikipedia articles on the equipment and the less lethal devices. And really everything else is just speculation from me playing a lot of SWAT 4 recently. If you guys enjoy Ready or Not news and information, feel free to subscribe to my channel or Durag because he also covers the game and does a lot more up-to-date, up-to-minute kind of coverage. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave it a like and maybe even subscribe. Also, I thought I would go ahead and announce that I am now a Green Man Gaming partner, so essentially all that means is that I'll have a link in the description, so if you guys see me playing a game that you're interested in, you can go down to that link, and every purchase made will actually give me a little bit of money in return, so I'd really appreciate it if you guys would use that for the next time you're interested in buying something on Steam. Before we leave, I would like to thank everybody for watching, and I'd also like to thank my Twitch subscribers, as well as to give my current and new Patreon supporters a thank you by giving them a shout out for helping keep this channel operational, and for helping me not starve to death. A huge special thank you to Jonathan, Rikamaru LDR, and Brodo Fatskins for your generous pledges. Until next time everyone, I'll see you out there in the field. Stay frosty out there.